part of me feels like reviewing The Matrix is completely pointless because everybody's either seen it or will see it. It's one of those films you need to see before you die. It is the 16th top-rated film of all time on IMDb, which is incredible. 8.7 out of 10 average rating on IMDb across almost 2 million reviews. So anything I say here is kind of irrelevant. But at the same time, I just wanted to put my thoughts in there and speak as somebody who is not usually into this kind of film. I don't really care for action films. I'm not really a big sci-fi fan. Star Wars and Doctor Who, yes. Everything else I take with a pinch of salt. But I did thoroughly enjoy this. So I guess I'm speaking to people primarily who aren't into those genres but who have considered watching it. And I can say that yes, it actually is worth it. And even for somebody who is not the biggest fan of those genres, it does live up to the hype. This was released in 1999 and directed and written by Lala Wachowski and Lily Wachowski, and stars, of course, Keanu Reeves. It's worth noting as well that this won 4 Oscars. It won film editing, sound effects editing, and best effects, visual effects. And that's absolutely why this film is loved. The special effects are groundbreaking, particularly for the time. They are incredible. I have not seen this on the big screen, but I imagine seeing this in the cinema would have been quite an experience. I don't know if this has ever been released in 3D, certainly not in 1999, but I feel like it's a film that would be remastered for IMAX or something. That would be colossal. And I think everybody is aware of the one most famous scene in this. But I won't go into too much detail about the narrative. I don't want to spoil anything, but I will read the description from IMDb. And this is as follows. When a beautiful stranger leads computer hacker Neo to a forbidding underworld, he discovers the shocking truth. The life he knows is the elaborate deception of an evil cyber intelligence. Evil cyber intelligence. I mean, bearing in mind this was in 1999 when computer technology was still kind of in its infancy, particularly for home use. You know, families were only just starting to get computers, and a lot of people were still intimidated by technology, particularly with the millennium on the horizon. There was just this whole fear that technology was going to take over. I don't remember it firsthand, I was 7, but certainly it's something that I'm aware of. So I feel like it could have provided quite a lot of fascination for a lot of people, and, you know, just evil and cyber are 2 words that actually go well together. The narrative itself, for me, is not something I was that invested in. It was interesting enough, but I was more curious than I was interesting. I was curious to see what they could do with this and these, you know, these really incredible computer programs and what they were going to come up with. I was fascinated, but I had no expectations for the ending or, what would happen to certain characters. I wasn't that bothered. But visually, couldn't take my eyes away from the screen. It is so compelling. And it's not just that there are a few quality scenes peppered throughout. It's very much non-stop, particularly as the narrative progresses. And I will say, even though I wasn't emotionally invested in the narrative, it was very well developed, and it did keep me engaged enough to be able to actually follow what was happening, which is a good thing, particularly when I'm not the biggest fan of sci-fi and there's a lot of terminology and technical words used that probably went over my head, I'll be perfectly honest. But the visual aspect is definitely why it works, and it is just innovative and stunning to watch. And yeah, maybe I would one day see it on the big screen. I think it would be quite an interesting experience. It's one of those films you look at and just go, wow, really wow. And for that reason, everybody has to see it, particularly if you're interested in the history of cinema and specifically the history of, editing and CGI and special effects. It's pretty special. Really, really special. I assume most people have seen it. I was quite late to the party. I only saw it a couple of years ago for the first time. I've dipped in and out of it to watch a few scenes since then. I watched a couple of scenes this morning. But, better late than never, and that's absolutely the case here. Definitely check it out if you haven't seen it, but if you have seen it, let me know your thoughts. It definitely does live up to the hype.